Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Airing It Out podcast. Now, this is episode 2 of the Alex Waite interview. And today we're going to be doing a couple more question style, going to be doing a bit more of a question style episode. We've heard your fantastic story and, wow, thank you for sharing it with us.
No, that's, thank you for the opportunity.
It's your story, and I'm sure that you've told it before, but to sit in front of a camera and have that vulnerability and strength to own and have that accountability is...
Yeah, it's empowering for sure.
That's
Definitely a lesson to be learned.
There's no small feat. But I thought what we do at the beginning of this episode, instead of jumping straight back into the big stuff, I want to ask you a couple positive questions. I want to get to know the positive side of your life a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, for instance now, what gets you out of bed?
Family.
Yeah.
Kids. Making the most of every day. Again, with what you got, just making the most of it. Definitely family, wife, kids. I'm a big believer in, especially now, you're either a warning or you're the example.
Oh, fucking hell.
So especially when it comes to fatherhood.
Yeah.
So for me, not lounging around doing F all, feeling sorry for yourself and all the rest of it, like my kids are like little sponges, right?
Yeah, but I've always believed that people greatly underestimate how intelligent children are. They absorb everything.
I don't know who the philosopher is, but I don't know, but I know it's, the quote is something like, give me the child or give me the boy for 7-8 years and I'll show you the man.
Wow.
And I don't know who the person is. It's passed me by.
Yeah.
But it's one of the oldest like philosophers. I don't know, it's Socrates or...
It's that foundation, isn't it?
Yeah. So your kids are seeing and learning and everything that you're kind of doing, and in a way, you're potentially... Well, no, you are. You're indoctrinating your children in a certain way, whether you know it or you're aware of it or not. So, yeah, showing up every day, being the best version of yourself, not just for you, but your wife, your kids, the people that you are day to day, but show up as an example, not the warning. And I've learned that from a guy called Paul Bradley.
Okay.
He was a fitness coach, another mentor that I've worked with. I love
that. You're either a warning or an example.
Yeah.
Wow. You mentioned about what gets you out of bed and what makes you feel alive. So I can't remember specifically what it was that you said, but you touched on it briefly. But what is it that makes you feel alive?
The fact that I've now got purpose.
Yeah.
Purpose, drive. I have a life that I would ever imagine that I would ever have. So if you were to ask me prior 24, don't worry, man, you're going to have a wife, you're going to have 4 kids, you're going to have a couple of businesses, some have failed, some are not, whatever. I said, man, you're mad, you're crazy. That's not what my life's about. So that's what I'm excited about. And this whole environment that we're doing today, hopefully, it's inspirational for me sitting here knowing that I'm doing this now and I'm sharing this. So anybody out there as well that will take a little snippet from it, man, it's doing some good in the world, right?
Yeah.
So especially for my kids. So knowing that you've got a life in front of you, regardless to all the hiccups and the weights that we carry, don't let them weigh you down. Use them to elevate you and push you forward. So, yeah, that for me, why I'm excited about my life, if that was the question.
Yeah.
Like what makes me feel alive? Well, the fact that I've created life.
Yeah.
That's a miracle in itself, man.
Yeah, it is.
Having family and children, and that's enough. There's more little me's there now, and just hopefully going to mould them up to be the best that they can be through my own actions that I do today. Not so much about what before, because there's still lessons learned, but yeah.
There's a quote that I'm quite fond of. It's just because you're alive, it doesn't mean that you're living. And I was thinking about how to ask you a question based off of that in the context that we're speaking about. It's not so much a question, more of an observation. When we look back at the fabulous story that you just told us, you spent so much of your life living until something happened and now you're alive. No, hold on. This is the other way around. So much of that time you were just alive, occupying a walking corpse, as you called it.
Yeah.
Or you were living untruthful to yourself, but then something happened, you made those changes, and now you are living.
Yeah.
Because you've got that purpose.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you're living deliberately.
Yeah, living with purpose, living with intention, rather than just Groundhog Day. Like why are we so attached to how we should live our life? Well, if you're not happy with whatever it is that you're doing, you have the power and the choice to change. Choose your heart. Choose your heart.
Explain that for us.
So what do I mean by that? So it's hard to be unfit and unhealthy and have no money coming in and just scraping by. It's hard, right? But it's also hard to be disciplined, committed,
focused.
Focus. Go into the gym. That's hard as well. So choose your heart.
Both your options are going to suffer for some reason.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if I've explained it right, but hopefully, if you understand, we have choices about.
Yeah. If you choose one of the hearts, not going to the gym, eating unhealthily, and waking up playing video games all day, your heart is going to be, you've got no purpose. It's going to hurt when you move. You might get out of breath walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
And you might accumulate a plethora of health problems. Yeah. Whereas on the other side of that coin, you wake up every morning, you go to the gym, and you go do something that you enjoy doing, and you make that conscious effort to eat healthy. It's not easy to act on those things. No one's going to make you do it. No. But you're choosing to do it.
Yeah, there we go.
Despite how hard it is.
It's a choice. You have a choice, and we live in habits. Yeah. We live by our habits. Yeah. And circumstance. So I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned about how we sort of go by our day to day, it's an angle of philosophy, and it was we're human beings. We're not human doings, if that makes sense. Yeah. So we all kind of. I picked this up. I picked up of a podcast that I've been listening to for about 6 months. It's all very topical. A guy called Jim Fortin, and very much on our subconscious level stuff. And that's where I first heard it, but I've also heard it on my other platform with Ryan, Super Genius. But it is, we live by have, do, be. So when I have the fitness, I can be the guy that does the things that fit guy does. But until I have that, I can't do it.
So, yeah.
But it's the reverse. We need to come from a place of be, do, have. So who do you need to become to be? You need to do the things, or no, not do the things. You need to be the things that you want the outcome. If that kind of makes sense. It's hard for me to really, when I say it's not hard, to really mute it in the way that makes complete sense, but there is that philosophy of we live from have, do, be, rather than be, do, have.
I think you and I have spoken about Rob Moore's kind of ideology on manifestation, and it's a lot to do with that, is that you have to be the thing first.
Yeah.
But the way that I interpreted what you told me is that have, do, be mindset is oh, when I have that, because I'm not it yet, when I have that, when it magically falls upon my lap, I'll have it and I'll do it and I'll be that thing.
Yeah.
Whereas the opposite way, the kind of Rob Moore way that we were talking about, is without anyone asking me or telling me, I am that thing. I am that thing that I want to be. I'm going to act in that.
And that comes through habits.
I'm going to be it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to have it.
Yeah, bang on, 100%. So like I said, like we're too busy doing and not being.
Okay.
We're human beings, not human doings.
Chasing, not attracting.
We're
too busy chasing and not spending enough time attracting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You kind of like, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but I have for myself, but when you really try and push for stuff, it just gets harder.
Forcing it.
Yeah, you're trying to force stuff to happen, and it just like, it just seems like you're bleeding your eyeballs out to try and like get things done, and it's all about the grind, the hustle. You know, it's
living for tomorrow. And never for
there's a place for it, but like one philosophy, or if it's a philosophy or it's just like an outlook, is like, you know, like a riptide. So like you fight against that riptide, you're gonna drown, man. You're gonna, you know. So the lesson, what they teach you to do that in a riptide is just relax and just let it take you. You might end up 2-3 miles out on the ocean. You're gonna be shitting yourself, right? If you're ever caught in a riptide. I mean, I never have. So, but this is just me muting something that I've learned, and it's just like, it's very much relatable to life. Yeah. When life is hard and you just fight against it and you push against it, mate, you're on a losing battle. So sometimes it's just about surrendering and just letting go. Yeah. It's almost like a stream, right? So like I can swim pretty fast, but if that stream was coming against me at the same pace that I'm swimming at, I'm working my arse off, but I'm going nowhere.
Yeah.
But you can let go of that and go with the flow. You can still guide yourself. You know, if you want to go over to that side of the bank because there's something interesting, you can go over there. Yeah. You can capture it. So like it is like learning to surrender a little bit to life, especially when you ask yourself some questions that, you know, what would you want from it? Okay, all right, then kind of lean towards it and just see where it goes.
I have something to say about that before I ask you another question. Is that we just did an episode on the art of letting go. So a lot of this being rather than doing, just accepting things as they are. But one of the examples of letting go out in the world that we can experience is, it was an anecdote from someone who was on a podcast, and they were saying how they were doing marine training and they'd throw this big heavy brick at the bottom of the pool and they'd say, right, go get it. And all these marines would be swimming and clawing and desperately, like on the point of near drowning, trying to get this brick out the bottom of the pool. And none of them could do it, and they're all floundering. And by the way, if you haven't seen that episode, go and watch it. One of the instructors said, okay, stop trying. The moment they stopped trying to push, resist, swim down, they just sunk. They stopped, they completely surrendered, and they just sunk down to the bottom, picked up the brick, floated right back to the top.
So, less is more. Sometimes less is more.
Let go.
Yeah, I like that.
So, following on from that, the question that I had is, you've mentioned purpose a couple of times, and finding that purpose.
Yeah.
If there was someone out there listening now and said, okay, Alex, I hear you, I get what you're saying, and I want that purpose so badly, but I don't know what mine is. What would you say to that someone who is perhaps looking for their purpose? What tips would you say, or what can we do to help them?
I think firstly, like for sure, it's just stop the noise. It's one thing that I've definitely learned is to just sit in silence. Yeah. Sit in silence and just stop the noise. Yeah. The gobbledygook that we go through in our heads, right? So if you're ever struggling and then you're overanalyzing, you're overthinking about what your purpose might be, don't sit in silence. And I think the biggest maybe lesson that I can push out there for anybody out there listening right now is to find your purpose is simply to uncomplicate it by two simple questions. And that is, and again, I'm is it paraphrasing, or I'm just making a quote from people that I've already learned from.
Yeah.
And again, this is a powerful platform with Ryan Pinnock. Like, he's by far my favourite mentor, for sure, hands down. And it's quite simple. What would you love? And let that marinate. Just let that sit on you. What would you love? And then just wait for it.
Okay.
Sit in that silence, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Give yourself that time, you deserve it. If you're ever struggling, give yourself that time. And bang, it will just come in like a rocket ship, mate, and it will hit you. Now, most of the time, that is probably where your intuitive genius then comes into play. Then ask yourself the question, would I love the outcome, or would you love the outcome? So from that first initial, what would I love? Sit, breathe, silence, boom. It comes in, and then ask yourself, would I love the outcome? And if you simply answer that last question with a yes or no, lean to it.
Yeah.
Start taking small actions towards that one thing, and watch how your life will unfold. It will just start to present itself. Things will happen. Conversations will happen. I'm a big believer in that. It's the reason why I'm sitting here today. Quite simply, I'm doing a little bit of like silent work, meditation, if you want to call it. Breathing, getting that oxygen in, letting it happen, and then just working on your vision, working on your purpose, working on the stuff that you would love to do. So for me, myself was, back a little while ago, was that I want to do a podcast of my own, right? So that's kind of like started to sort of build and grow in my mind and in my intentions of a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And I had a one-to-one meeting with Ryan, and we had a little session, and there were some like little action points for us that he said. So I spat out what I wanted. He goes, right, dun 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 dun, and gave me some little action points to take away and start moving towards. And I kid you not, literally 3 days later, you text me. Yeah, Alex, we spoke about blah blah. I've got an available date. I'd love you to come down. I got the invite to come on the podcast today, or from episode 1. And just a chance to share my story. Mate, that would never have happened if you weren't in that higher state of energy or frequency. And like, people might think, it's just coincidence, man. There's no coincidences, man. There is no coincidences. That just the fact that happened, and it happens more often now. And I'm not searching for it, and that's what I'm saying to you. Don't just go searching for those moments. Just let them come to you,
Yeah. I'm trying to think of this. There's a quote about this kind of law of attraction. I can't remember who said it, and I'm paraphrasing greatly, but if you wanted to catch loads of butterflies, you could either go out and spend hours chasing after them with a net, and you might get a handful after a lot of exerted effort. Or you could plant a load of flowers, nurture them, and then let the butterflies come to you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's exactly that. Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah.
Planting those seeds.
Yeah, stop trying so hard. Stop trying so hard to achieve all that stuff, because it will come to you. Yeah.
If you could have told Sam that a few years ago,
that
would have been so helpful.
Well, we had that conversation, didn't we? We did, and we were sort of like, and I believe you meet people for all the right reasons. Like that day that I arrived at the door, and I know we touched on it briefly, but that conversation actually may or may not have been the added spark that you might have needed just to go, oh, you know what, man, the fact that you just already mentioned podcasts, I've always wanted to do a podcast. It was like, really? And we were like, seriously? And they're like, yeah, it's like I've just had the conversation, but you never really kind of action, maybe not just taking those steps towards it, but obviously from that day, and I'm taking no credit for it, and believe me, it's just a conversation, and you've already done it, and you've taken steps towards it, and what you're doing is powerful, man. It's a real pleasure to be here. It really is, and the opportunity to share a little bit of what we had right from that first conversation. Look where you are now, and look where we are right now. It's phenomenal. And probably my message out there, and for you as well, is that each and every one of you out there, this is all doable.
Yeah.
It's doable for absolutely everybody. Just lean into it, believe in yourself.
Find that quiet. Ask yourself. Something that I thought about when you were saying about finding that quiet and allowing that answer to come to you.
Yeah.
Is you mentioned about overanalyzing and trying to think your way through to the answer. There's something quite profound that I heard is that, particularly in regards to these kind of things, the really important, long-term, meaningful things, is that we're trying to have an intellectual response to an emotional problem.
Right.
So we got something that we really want to do. Like this person, hypothetical person, wants to find some meaning, some purpose. Are we going to get there by analysing it, by looking at it logistically, by trying to crunch the numbers and find out, what that answer is, or is it going to be taking that moment of quiet, finding that moment of quiet and letting that come to us, asking ourselves, what do I really want to do? I think that's quite important as well.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's like a little bit of a play of words, but overanalysis leads to paralysis.
Yeah, analysis paralysis.
So very much like an engineer,
electrical
engineer or any kind of engineer, they just analyse. And most of the time, if and when it does get out to production, they're still not ready for it to go out because it's not perfect. And if we're going to quote Rob Moore, start now, perfect it later.
Yeah.
Just start. Doesn't need to be perfect. Doesn't need to be finely tuned.
Yeah.
Just start, and just the more that you commit and the more that you step up daily, weekly, monthly, it's just going to grow. Let it grow. Let it marinate. Like chicken.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing worse than chicken that's just been thrown some spice on. You blast it in the pan. Man, sit there for 2-3 days. Okay. Bosh.
I want to get some chicken.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I think surrendering as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any big readers out there, or for me, I do find it difficult to read. So for me, when I was driving my lorry, I joke about it. I turned it into an 18-wheel, 44-ton office.
I remember you saying it was your
classroom. It's my classroom.
Yeah.
It's my little place where I've got time. So it's my choice. Here comes the choice again. I've got a choice to listen to the same old bollocks on the radio, right? One for a better word. Yeah, repeating the same songs like 50 freaking times an hour, or I can educate myself and listen to a podcast. I can listen to an audiobook. And that's exactly what I've done, for the last, since COVID. I just turned all that noise off and I listen to what I want to listen to. I want to listen to stuff that's improving my life, better in my life, and take lessons from it, and then ultimately take some action. Once you start taking that action, things start to shift.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about surrender. There's a little book plug, if that's cool.
Of course.
It's called The Surrender Experiment.
Yeah.
It's Michael A. Singer or Michael J. Singer, but the book is all about surrender and this noise in your head, and then he just decided that whatever happened, that's his ego talking.
Really?
So whatever the ego said for him to do or not to do, he did the opposite.
Oh.
And literally, I won't spoil it, but if you want to go out there and be inspired by someone else's story and journey, and it's all in book or audio form, go and get it.
Wow.
Honestly, it will change your life. It will give you a bit of sense that actually you don't need to overcomplicate things. Don't need to overanalyze, and like you said, just there, like numbers and ifs and nuts, the logistics. Man, just surrender.
I spent years doing that.
Mate.
Before I started learning to let go and just
let
things
and look
be.
how far you've come already, right?
No.
You know, leaps and bounds, mate. I think for a lot of people, if they resonate at all, or if they haven't started yet, or they're just starting, and then they're tuning in. Yeah, surrender is a powerful concept. Difficult.
Oh, 100%.
Challenging.
Letting go of control.
Yeah.
Oof, that scares me.
Mate, yeah.
No, thank you.
Mm.
Yeah. Letting things be as they're meant to be. Okay, Alex. So, through everything that you've learned and everything that you've been through, what does success now look like to you?
Success.
Or how would you define it?
For me personally,
You personally?
coming through my own pain points, coming through the pain that I've associated with, that's been my biggest success for sure. Which has led to other successes. It kind of begets itself. It becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? The more that you show gratefulness for your success. So for me, my success is probably my first ever wish and love for, which was a wife and kids and family, and do something positive. And I think a lot of the stuff that you got to think about is that the stuff that we go through in life is, I believe that it's meant to have happened, because 100% I'm a better father for the lessons that I've had through my father and stuff. I've put up a little bit of a generational barrier to, and I've never struck my kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I lose my rag sometimes, and the noise, well, just be quiet, or whatever. Like, not so much snap, but you can, and I'm guilty of that, right? So there's stuff that I'm still learning to dumb down, but ultimately my kids know that they're loved. They know that they've got a voice. They know that they're appreciative, that I'm appreciative of them. I might not agree with their decisions or what they want to do with life, but that's not for me to dictate.
Yeah.
So for me, the biggest success for me is that, or for anybody, I believe, is just learning from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's where growth comes. That's where real change comes. That's my biggest success, for me personally. Opulent items, man, it's a secondary. Yeah. And
it's a thing.
If I look back actually, because I've done a bit of football coaching as well, so I've helped out in the community for my boys when they were younger, and I got involved and I was doing coaching. And one thing I learned from one of the old guys there, he said, just concentrate on them having fun. The winning and the losing is secondary, Alex.
I love that.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, especially at the very young age. Obviously, when they grow and it gets a bit more competitive, but I think if you apply that to life, have fun, enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Like the opulent items and what people might deem as success, like the big house, the big fancy car, the jet set holidays, the private jets, all that kind of stuff we see online. Man, but is that really their happiness?
Yeah.
To
take it all away, what have you got?
Exactly. So my success is that it's definitely the lessons that I've learned, where I'm stepping through and where I'm going, for sure. That's my answer to success.
Okay.
If that's
no, it's an excellent answer. It's really nice. So touching on the lessons you've learned and the mistakes that you put your hands up to, would you say you have any regrets?
Before, probably, I'd say yeah, but you know what? Now I'm in complete acceptance of my life and what's happened. and I own it. I own it. So there's no regrets because it's what's made me who I am right now, sitting here today. And I think if you regret anything, you're living in the past still, aren't you?
Mm.
It's still that familiar past.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there goes my gut. Pick up on there, I'm hungry. It's that conversation of chicken, right? It's like, man, what's a chicken?
I really wanted to ask you what your favourite kind of marinated chicken was.
Piri, mate.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah. I swear to God, everyone's got something to say, right? Yes, where were we there? So, yeah, I lost track there a bit.
Yeah, me too.
I was going somewhere with it. So does this happen a lot to you as well? Do you like yeah. Does it?
Definitely.
So what was the question again? Pass the question. So
regrets.
So regrets, right? So regrets, yeah. So no, I don't. So I believe that all that stuff has been for a reason. You know, I look back at it now. You've got to own that stuff.
Yeah.
So no regrets. Don't live in regrets.
So let's say there's someone in the audience who wants to do what you're saying. Okay, they might be living in the past. They might be living with regrets. What does that dialogue in their head look like when it comes to acceptance?
It's only.
Like, what do you say to yourself?
Well, now, as in, yeah. So for now, the past doesn't exist.
Okay.
The past does not exist. The only thing that exists right now is our emotional and memory of the event. So, like, yeah, we've shared a story and all the rest of it. That's fine because we're attempting to sort of deliver a positive message, right, with these conversations, and that's hopefully what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
But if you hold on to your past, you're only holding on to a memory of it, and your perception of it and how it made you feel emotionally, and then you can almost reshape that to however you would like it, and it's not necessarily like always the be all and end all. So I think if you can let go of that.
You can't do anything about it.
No, it's been and done. So like, there's a thing like a broomstick, right?
Yeah.
And you got one end of the broomstick, you've got your past, and then at the other end of the broomstick, you've got your future.
Yeah.
So if you hold your hand in the middle of it,
yeah,
right, that's where you are in life right now. So let's just chop off the future because you can't predict it. You don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
Chop off your past because it's been and done. Live presently as much as you can with intention of what you would love. Now you don't know where or how that journey is going to map out to a degree. I know we hear a lot of people talk about life like the sat nav, and I can relate to that because if you don't know where you're going in life, if you want to travel a certain route, like me getting here today, I don't need the sat nav. I'm just going to drive and hopefully that I end up at your doorstep to do this podcast, right? It's never going to freaking happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to end up in Timbuktu, right? So you put the sat nav in and then you would get to your destination. So yes, I agree a little bit with that kind of ideology or that kind of like that thought chain on life. You've got to have like an idea of where you would love to be, and you'll come that through like purpose and stuff. But don't worry too much about the future. It will pan itself out as long as you live with intention and you live through surrender, and you do what you do with love and kindness, and you make a positive footprint in the world, and you go forth with that as your coat of armour as such.
Yeah.
And just try and be better for other people, not just for yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's a good. There's a thing called it's called Ayni or Anyi, Ayni, and it's like old philosophy stuff, and it's all sort of like is it Incas, like the Mexican stuff and all that, and quite spiritual stuff. and there's like shaman stuff. Like I don't want to get too like into because it's not where I'm at to a degree. But the whole Amy approach to life is like, if you can help more people in this world with no reciprocation, is that right? Or, for something in return, the universe is listening and it's going to reward you anyway. You look at all the major players in the world, like they are helping hundreds of thousands of people, and they live a very wealthy life when it comes to finances and stuff that they can do with their family and have time with their family. So for me, that's a big push for me, is living a life like that. And I think what you're doing here is right on that line. You're helping people because you generally want to, not with like pat on the back, or whatever. You're doing it because you generally want to make a difference and a change in the world. So that's really powerful.
Thank you. So based off of what you were saying, in your own experiences, so this person has decided to make that change. They might have had this life-changing experience as if you did. But in your own experiences, particularly in the early days when you decided to make that change, what you might have already answered this question, but what were those things that kept you going? Like if you could boil down how you endured those early days of still being very raw from this place where you came from, but also having a bit of direction. How did you keep going?
I think I've kind of always had that like visionary mindset, even as a kiddie. So I think even with all the stuff that threw my way and difficult as it was, I knew that wasn't the be all and end all of it. I knew that, I don't know, it's hard, it's really hard to pinpoint it, but I think you know when you know.
Okay.
Like, that's why you're still here. You're still here, there's a reason for it. And just, I think for me, it was like, I'm not going to go down that line. I'm not going to continue. I'm going to continue. I'm going to keep getting up and just doing the best I can. So a lot of it was just living in fear, man. And that's the truth of it. False evidence appearing real. I know I'm talking a lot of these little like goop and good opinions of other people, fear, false evidence appearing real, and all this good stuff. It is good stuff. Yeah. I love it because it helps to break down how you're feeling at any given time. So
just break down that fear for me, because you mentioned it to me before, but I think I might still need a little bit of help understanding what it is that you mean and how you apply that.
So I think we had that, was it conversation we had on the phone? It was like the invisible tigers.
Yeah.
Was that what we had on the phone? Yeah. See, that hit me, man. I was like, man, that's a great analogy and that's a great outlook for the kids, right? It's that fear of the unknown. We just paint these pictures in our heads. So like that picture I was painting in my head at the time, I'm rotting from the inside. Okay. I'm in a dark place. I'm dying. I'm this. I'm that. I'm losing control. But there's no facts to it. It was all just because of one thing that was said. So fear is a test. And, you talk about courage and bravery. Because we don't live in that kind of world no more where we have that tiger, right, or that saber tooth. Yeah. But that's your ego. That's your ego popping up. So that was, for the whole time there, for what I understand now, is that fear that I was creating in my head. Yeah. It's all imaginary. And it beat the crap out of me. And I let it. So your mind is very powerful. So if you allow it to control you to a degree and dictate how you show up in your life, man, sometimes it takes you can only go up when you've hit rock bottom. So if you're not at rock bottom right now, and you're kind of, I think you just got to be at the lowest point for you then to have that change. Okay. And then project towards and elevate upwards. Okay. So fear.
What was that acronym for us? Fear.
False evidence appearing real. So
the images we conjure up in our mind.
Yeah, so maybe as an example, right, so someone's got fear of flying, right, this is kind of where I picked it up from. In fact, that's a Paul McKenna, you know, the hypnotist guy, Paul McKenna, like, you know, that dude.
Yeah.
Like, he uses this as an example, like we paint this picture, so your heart's racing, you're going on the plane, you get shut in, if now you're off the floor, you can't get out, you're stuck, there's turbulence, and you're painting this horrible picture in your head, and you look out and there's smoke coming from the machine, from the engines, and it catches a light, and all of a sudden it bursts, and now you're falling. And no wonder why you're freaking scared of flying, because that image that you've just let your mind race away with stop you from going and travelling the world and seeing the world. But in your heart and hearts, you would love to go and see like Asia and, you know, the Incas, or, you know, South America, but your fear of and the imagination that you've built up in your head based around fear, false evidence appearing real.
Okay, I love that. So next question, what do we do with that fear?
I think you just got to realise that, again, it's imaginary. So just step into the fear, step around the corner, look for that invisible tiger that you know, for the kids, you know, whatever, you know, because I mean, I could be honest with you, I will be honest with you, like even today, like I had the noise and the fear of coming here today and sitting down and just let it all hang out, mate, and just be vulnerable and just, you know, the fear of judgment, the fear of what people are going to think and all the rest of it, you know, like it still comes up. It's learning that other people's opinion of me is not my business. They're not. What people think of me.
It's opinion, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. And an opinion's correct? No. It's just an opinion. There's no right or wrong in it.
Someone's opinion could be completely different if they were having a good day or if they were having a bad day. Still the same person, it's just two different opinions. So how much weight do you want to give to someone else's opinion? Yeah,
exactly. So like, that's been a big push for me now. So it's pushing. I think so fear, you got to push yourself out of that comfort zone. And we live in comfort zone all the time. Yeah. What's comfortable for us. Yeah. But there's no growth there.
First thing away from...
Yeah. So...
So the comfort zone is a wonderful place, but nothing ever grows there.
Here we are. Yeah, I like that. I don't know, but I love all that stuff. This stuff, you start putting yourself in these environments like all the time. Like it starts to affect you, and you start to grow strength. I mean, Christ, we were saying off camera, like before, when I first started, I wouldn't even put the camera on. Like on a Zoom call for a group network meeting and for the property stuff. And all the guys would be on the screen, be like, yeah, man, everyone turn your screens to see your lovely faces. I'd be like, no, I'm staying on a black screen. I'm just one in the chat box. Yeah, I agree with that. No, I don't agree with that. But since then, I've kind of, I put myself in those situations more and more and more and more. So you become a little bit more callous. You become callous to it. So you strengthen yourself. So okay. Actually wasn't too bad, and then it enveloped and it just keeps on. So I think just keep pushing through and pushing yourself out in those times. So the noise, when we talked about the noise and the chitter chatter, that's your ego. Okay. So do the opposite. So when my ego was showing up and it was saying, "Oh man, just phone Sam up and say the cars, the cars like not going," or something that my mind was going through. For a reason to not come here, for example, because it did happen. It was like, mate, shit, you know, like I'm actually going to be on a show, like I'm going to be laying it out, and the fear was like there, but it was just noise, and it was like, right, no, moment of silence. What would I love?
Really?
What would I love? So all of that noise, all of that questions, and should I, shan't I? Dumb it down. Silence your mind and just go, what would I love? And my answer was, I would love to come on the show and get involved with the message that you're putting out to the world. And then the question was, would I love the outcome? and an outstanding yes. So yeah, and yeah, so that would be my kind of push to anyone out there listening right now. It's like, just follow your intuitive genius, surrender, quieten the noise down, and just go and be. Yeah.
Allow yourself to be.
Yeah.
You mentioned off camera when you got here, get out your own way.
Yeah, get out of your way. Yeah, you're your biggest obstacle.
I'm fucking terrible for that.
Like, and it's so true, but like, you know.
It's what you said about the car, it's just you're putting all these things in front of you, getting to the thing that you know that you want.
Yeah.
And you're trying to rationalise.
Yeah, and that's just your ego. Yeah.
You're rationalising the irrational.
Yeah.
Get out your own way.
Get out your own way, man, because until you do, nothing's ever going to change, really. But obviously there's a vast amount of, the polar opposites of that. You know, it's so vast, right? You know, one pain point to someone else's pain point. It's like a thermostat. You know, like top of the thermostat, it's like burn your face off, and at the other, it's like your toes are going to drop off. Yeah, so that's your ego as well, and that's life, and that's where we all live, and that's kind of like that's the way I look at ego. So when people talk about ego, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, the big guy full of confidence, walking around with his chest in the air, like he's carrying bloody carpets or whatever, you know, he's full of himself. That's where we go to with ego, but we don't actually realise that no matter your personality, our egos are there to protect us. They're not really there to deliberately sabotage you from making progress, but they're there to protect you. And then they come up with those little things to keep you in that comfort zone. But if you stay there,
yeah, is something that we've been speaking about recently on the podcast. Is you always have that voice in your head which will tell you to stop progressing. It will rationalise you to not push past that comfort zone because that's your present version of yourself.
Right.
But in order to become something greater, something more developed, you have to kill that part of you which is telling you that it doesn't want to grow. That's your present self.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to sacrifice that present version of you in order to grow.
Yeah. I agree massively. Yeah, you kind of need to. Well, yeah, like exactly as I said it. You just need to let that attachment part of you die. You know, and then just walk in confidence that everything's going to be all right. I think ultimately, like, just don't worry about it. Everything will be all right. You know, everything's only temporary. So I don't know if you agree, but or if anyone out there that hopefully you agree. But any problem that we've all had at any given time, is it a problem anymore? No, it's not. It's resolved itself somehow.
Yeah.
Whichever way it's gone. So, for example, car finance. Let's just say car. You're missing your payments, right?
Yeah.
Now that's a problem. You've got letters coming through, final demand, all the rest of it, right? And that's a problem. Now, the positive solution to that is, well, you manage to claw yourself up, you catch up with your payments, and you get back on track, and you carry on. You pay the car off, all done. Is that problem existing anymore? No. Or, sorry mate, we have to come and take the car. It's still not a problem, right? It's gone. The problems are gone.
Yeah.
So, any problems that we're sitting in right now, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it too much. Don't give it too much depth or whatever. Like which we all do. We do.
It feels like the end of the world when it's happening.
Yeah, it does. But just let it. It will pass.
It's a really interesting way of looking at it.
It will pass. All problems resolve themselves.
When you say it like that, it's so obvious. You know, are we experiencing any of those problems that we've been through now?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I mean, anyone out there that's experienced bankruptcy, my hand raised well high, but you know, based on information and guidance from like debt plans and then IVA and all the rest of it. But that was so stressful. That's a massive problem. I had another little vertical pain in my life, where it was extremely difficult. 10 years on from now, is that a problem anymore? No, it's resolved itself. We got through it.
Yeah, we've learned from it.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to sprinkle in a couple of positives if that's all right for you.
Let's do it.
What does self-care mean to you? Or what do you do to look after yourself?
Positive consumption. What you read, what conversations that you have, literature that you take on.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Love that.
Like indulge in stuff that's going to better your life. So,
Is that difference between active and passive leisure?
Yeah.
So passive leisure is your video games, Netflix, all the things that you're enjoying, you're not necessarily getting from, but the active is like the creativity, the painting, the drawing, writing, reading.
Yeah.
Something that you directly benefit from.
Yeah, I think engaging with my family as well. It's all like self-care.
Yeah.
Taking pride in yourself and your appearance as well, as best as you can. I mean, look, you can only do what you can do with the cards that you've been dealt. Like, I'm no oil painting, right? None of us are, But hey, I believe in dressing up as smartly as you can. I love a hoodie, right? I live in hoodies and jeans and trainers and stuff, but like I brush up quite nicely, mate, when I go out and put a suit on.
You look smart, feel smart.
You know what I mean? So I think that's important. That's self-care. Best part, eat as healthy as you can.
Yeah.
So whole foods, stay away from the shit as much as you can. But again, I'm no angel on that part.
Yeah.
I like to indulge in a kebab now and then, or a cheeky Mackie D's or something, but it's not a daily thing. I drink a lot of water and coffee. Like I said, I drink very minimally now. So yeah, I think for you to be the best version of yourself, you need to take care of yourself. For you to show up and have clarity. And so like this morning, right, I don't always get into my cold plunge.
You've got a cold plunge?
I've got a little cold plunge, mate. But yeah, bottom end stuff. Like I'm not talking about like, the stuff that costs you a couple of grand and then you've got ice that are on the top of it. But for the best part, I start my morning in that environment because it really makes you present. So self-care, like little routine that I do in the mornings, for example, my alarm clock isn't just or whatever. It's like an affirmation or positive. Listen to this every morning. It's on YouTube. You can pick. There's loads of stuff on there, right?
Yeah.
And it's just about like showing up, being the best version of yourself. Because the very first sort of 20 minutes of waking, or as you wake, you're at a certain wavelength in your brain.
Okay.
And you're more susceptible to positive influence at that time.
Right.
So I've deliberately now, I'm going to have a great day. I'm great. I show gratefulness and that I've got this and I've got that. And it's all these little affirmation things. I mean, like a lot of people poo-poo it as well, but I think it works for me. And then from there, I do that, and then I either have a cold shower. I always finish with a cold shower, regardless. But if I can't get in, that's what I do. If I don't go into the hot tub. I ain't got a hot tub. That's on the cards, by the way.
Is it?
My kids have been asking for a hot tub for a while, so that's on a promise. But yeah, this cold plunge thing, it's just bottom end stuff. And what it does, it forces you to breathe. So when you oxygenate your body, like it forces all the oxygen into where it needs to go. So you get a lot of clarity from cold water. That's what I find it. I don't ever start my day now without either the cold plunge or finish on a cold shower. I just feel refreshed.
Yeah.
And then with that positive influence straight away from dot one, and then just have a decent breakfast. So that's my self-care. So like eggs, avocado, some blueberries, water, decent coffee. That's how I start all my mornings. So that's that. Self-care routine is important. I mean, I've fallen off the wagon a little bit when it comes to the gym lately, but that's just due to a few health things or injuries and stuff like that. So but yeah, I think self-care for me is. How can I make it? So imagine you're gonna go and rent a car, right? And it's not your car, but you go and rent it.
Okay.
Like, how would you treat that car? Because if you're gonna lose a deposit, you're gonna lose whatever.
Yeah.
Now, if you put like £500 deposit down, you're gonna love that car, man. You're gonna make sure you don't abuse it, right? And you borrow it for a certain amount of time, then you've got to give it back. So we are very much the same. We're on borrowed time with our bodies, right? So I think, again, Jim Fortin, I picked this up from his podcast, that we're like human being, and we're in our flesh and bones, right? It's just rented.
Yeah. So
treat it the best you can, because you've got to give it back, almost. I don't know if I put that across right, but yeah, start to look after it more. You only get one body,
yeah.
You only get one mind, so nurture it, take care of it, because it's your most precious commodity. You know? You know, yeah. So that'd be kind of like my outlook on self-care.
Okay. What were a few of the little things, or the little moments that you cherish the most?
Getting home from work.
Yeah.
My youngest kid's running to the door. Not so much now. So my youngest now 7. She's adorable. She still rushes to the door.
Yeah.
Little triumphs like that really, really brighten my day. It's quite funny actually. It's just made me. It's just popped into my head now. It's like I remember when I used to be working and I'd phone wifey up and say, look, I've just finished my shift. I'm on my way home. And I could still hear in the background going, right, Dad's on his way home. Right, just give him a minute when he gets in. Don't just bombard him. Let him have a cup of tea or let him have a little beer or something, right? And as much as that's innocent, there's no problem with that. But for the kids, maybe, they don't see it like that.
Yeah.
They see it like, Dad puts his beer before me, or Dad puts his cup of tea before me.
Right.
And all they want to do is tell you they've got a 5-star in their spelling exam. It's the first thing they want to do is just tell you.
Yeah.
So actually, now, those little moments for me are the most precious. That's what really makes me kick. And I would never put them at second base ever. So yeah, for me, and we can all have that. So like, I'm sure there's lads and people out there now that don't have family, they don't have their own children and stuff like that. But for the fathers out there, mate, that these little things, they're just precious. That really gives me a good kick. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you proud of who you've become?
Yeah.
I should have waited. Spit take.
Mate, 100%, man. I you know what? I think you have to love yourself to a degree, but in the best way, Yeah, 100%. I love who I am today. I love who I'm gonna be.
Oh, nice.
There's a song out there. I forget it now, but it's I'm better than I was, but I'm not as good as I'm gonna be.
Nice. I love that.
But Tim McGraw, there we go. I think it's like a country song, but mate, yeah, speaks volumes for me. Keep the devil.
Yeah.
So he's just gonna keep knocking regardless. But yeah.
What's some of the things you're passionate about? What are you passionate about?
Oh, right now, I just want to help as many men out there as possible that are either going through some sort of pain, breaking out of that kind of pain point, or it's still yet to come. So I'm really passionate now about wanting to make a massive change, very similar to you. So we resonate on a massive level, right? The good that we want to do. So I'm passionate about helping and changing men's lives, and just let them know that you don't have to do it alone. That becoming part of a community, becoming part of if you want to call it like a battle ring, a war ring, where we can all just
Accounts.
gather and just share and just don't be worried about what people think of you, and just show vulnerability.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about that, and I'm passionate that we can make a positive change in the world. And there's a lot of coal walking around, right?
Okay.
There's a lot of coal walking around.
What do you mean?
Well, pressure. Coal to diamonds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I something that I picked up, Author Unknown, I really can't remember, but I read it, and it was like, the world's going to pressure you anyway. You're going to have tons of pressure in life, but it's what kind of pressure and what environment it's coming from. So I look back at it and I'm like, man, I'm under so much pressure. Why am I not a diamond yet? But the pressure was coming from the wrong environment. So it's never going to create a diamond. You're just always going to be walking around like coal.
Right. I see.
So once you change your environment and you change the people that you rub shoulders with on a daily basis, that is a different kind of pressure. And that's where alchemy comes in, right? So coal to diamonds, iron to gold, or whatever it is, alchemy, right? Yeah, The Alchemist. That's a great book as well.
You read it?
Well, I haven't. I've listened to it. It's deep as anything, right? But it's some of that stuff you just got to keep going over and over again. It's like watching a film. You always miss something. And you watch it again. You're like, I don't remember that.
Throughout our entire conversations, if I could recommend one book to you, it would be The Alchemist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. 100%. Richest Man in Babylon. That's a great book. The Kabbalion. Man, that's
all of those.
You have?
Yeah.
Man, Kabbalion, that's deep as deep it can be as well. But it's old as time. And all those messages and that philosophies and stuff, they're just carried, they're timeless.
Yeah.
They are timeless, and they're just regurgitated or remuted in a way in modern society, I guess, and how we live today. They're just kind of shaped a bit differently, but it's all old school stuff and it works.
How important is vulnerability to masculinity?
It's just got to redefine it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Masculinity needs to be redefined. So, repeat the question for me.
Like, how important do you think the relationship of masculinity and vulnerability is?
Well, it's the stigma, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shut up, pull your socks up, man up, don't be a big Jess.
Keep going.
Don't show emotions, it's weak. But you know what? Love and kindness in a man is the biggest strength of all. It outweighs everything. So masculinity for me is showing that I'm vulnerable, showing that I've got a soft heart as such. I'm a big teddy bear, but I'm still a bear.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
I've been called teddy bears. Oh, you're just a big teddy bear, mate. It's fine. But I'm still a bear.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, there's that toxic masculinity in it, like being chauvinistic and but there's no place for it in today's society. I don't like it. It puts a sour taste in my mouth. That's for sure. I don't like that disrespect, because we're all human. I don't care who you are, where you come from. I mean that in the best light. I don't mean I don't care who you are, or where you come from.
Yeah.
But
you could come from anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I think that's the biggest strength in a man. It's showing vulnerability.
It's acknowledging those, what we might see as insecurities, those things that men aren't always commonly attached to, those emotions, how we really feel.
Yeah.
And it's saying, okay, actually, no, that is me. This is what I feel.
Yeah. It's like my upbringing with my dad, very emotionally detached. He was there, we don't really talk emotions. He wasn't, he never really got much hugs and stuff and all that kind of shit. Now I'm forever hugging my kids. They're all my little darlings, all of them. Even my 16-year-old now, it's like, Dad, for God's sake. Like, all right, darling. He's like in front of his friends, it's like, mate, but deep down, he knows it's true. So I think, masculinity is love and kindness. That's a true sense of a strong man, because people that take kindness for weakness, That's another line.
That's the biggest
You know, I mean, even now I can say like there's been occasions where, you know, luckily my wife and my kids haven't been with me. Nothing's escalated, but there's been confrontation, and just a little play on words and little stuff that's said. So like I'm like, "Mate, guys, look, I'm not fighting you, man. Honestly, I'm not going to fight you.
Yeah.
But what I am doing is protecting the people that are behind me, and that's my wife and my kids. And I'm going home tonight."
Wow.
And it's like that little pause, and then this is like, "Look, I'm going to go and get myself another drink. You go and do what you got to do. Just leave it as it is. It doesn't need to go no further."
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, it's worked for me anyway. It's definitely worked for me. But yeah, it's come close, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to raise my ugly head. It's not good news for anybody.
Don't poke the bear too much.
Huh?
Don't poke the bear too much.
Yeah. So yeah, I think, yeah, man. I think just walking with love and kindness, man, and being there for a stranger, man. Like do a good deed in a day. You know,
if you do.
like do something good for someone. Like you know, you don't need to carry that whole like.
Macho.
Yeah. No, it's there's no place for it, man.
Something that Ben and I like is, we sometimes say at the end of an episode is be kinder than is absolutely necessary. So, in your day, be kinder than you have to be.
Yeah.
Go out of your way.
Yeah.
Try and do
There we go.
something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I believe in leaving that positive footprint on a daily basis. Do something kind for someone. Say something nice to someone. You know, add some value to someone else's life somehow. You know, share value. I think it's a nice way to be, right?
Yeah.
You know, not having to worry looking over your shoulder about, because life swings, like the pendulum effect. I don't know if we talked about that a little bit again, but it's just stuff that I'm muting. It's all new stuff to me, but it makes complete sense. And if it makes sense, then use it, apply it, make it count in your life.
Yeah.
So life is going to swing, right? The ebbs and flows of life. You're going to be up, it's going to be great. And then it's going to swing and it's going to go like not so great. And if you're sitting on the end of that pendulum and you're just experiencing those life experiences in the moment, like mate, and no wonder why like you're just so stressed and you're frustrated and you're angry and all these other little things pop up. But if you can sit above it in a higher state and just know and just watch it swing, because it's going to swing regardless, but keep focused on your purpose and then how you want to show up in the world. Yeah, man, you'll be all right. Everything will be fine.
Yeah. That was one of the things I was going to ask you. So, if you wanted people, like we've asked this a few times throughout the conversation, but if there were something that you would want the listeners to take away from this conversation, like the conversation, the interview with Alex Wade, what would you want us to do?
What if I was to give some advice or just?
If someone were to take away 1, 2, or 3 things from this conversation, what would you most hope for that to be?
That you have it within yourself to be the change that you want in your life. That's it. Be the change you want. And you can, and each and every one of you out there can do it. 100%. I have faith in you. I believe in you. Just show up for yourself in the best way. So yeah.
Amazing. Is there anything else that you want to share?
I think just walk with love and kindness, right? We're all men. Like still a man's man. Still men. It's fine. Nothing wrong with being strong and being a provider and being a good role model. But you don't need to do it with toxicity. You don't need to. You can just edge that shit away and just be a man of love and kindness and watch your world change for sure. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
If you don't have anything else, or Alex, this has been.
Anything more, as in?
Yeah.
Well, just the fact that I'm really leaning in towards doing my own podcast. So
Yeah. Do you have a name for it?
I'd like to collaborate with you at some point and have you on my show, and then
I'd love to
almost do like a role reverse, and then get you to share a little bit more, although that you have already, with it. But being on the other side, and I'd love that to collaborate. And I think that's an important. Stop the competition, lads.
Yeah.
Stop the competition. Why you got to be in competition with everyone? Just collaborate. You get more done. You're busy fighting what the next person's doing, and you're just beating yourself up. Just I think if anything, like maybe one thing to wrap up potentially is that my viewpoint, and I've never heard this, so I'm gonna stake claim to this.
Okay.
Is that we live in like a Gollum society. Ooh. Like Lord of the Rings, Gollum and the precious ring.
Yeah. Okay.
The precious, and it's like he's just toxic because he's protecting what sees. He doesn't want to share it with anybody. If you've got something to share and you think you can be benefit, and it's benefited you, whether it be a business idea or something you've done to benefit your life, share it with people. You get more satisfaction from that than trying to protect it. So that would be that. So digressing back very briefly to the podcast idea, and that's also come from being in rooms and watching how people public talk, public speaking, and you sit there and I think, Christ, man, I couldn't do it, but now I do it. I think I've done it a little bit. I've spoken to about 400 people in Birmingham and had to introduce myself, but a lot of the messages that I've got from is that there's a pain point in your life, and then there's bridges that you cross to where they are today, and they all have it, and that's what's inspired me a little bit. And I was like, okay, pain to growth, or they've gone through some kind. You ask any successful entrepreneur in the world, they've got a backstory of like they lived in poverty, they come from a broken home, homelessness, drugs, addiction, etc., right? There's always some kind of pain point that they've lived in, but now they've crossed the bridges to the life that they live today. And then when they sit there and say to you, anybody in this room, if I can do it, you can do it. I used to be, mate, a little bit kind of skeptical, but healthy skeptic. I was like, okay, really? Can I do this? And that seed plant just starts to flourish the more that you do it. So that's what really inspired me to come up with my name. So my vision was really more about property and stuff. And we're doing okay. We started small, and it's very small. It's just an Airbnb business that me and my wife done. That was all about surrender and pushing past pain points and fear and what ifs and all the rest of it. So we got 5-star review, guest favourite, super host status on Airbnb. It's dipped a little bit just recently, but that was my call to like what I want to do. And it was almost like a secondary part of my vision to do a podcast, and I didn't really have a name for it. And it wasn't until I started at Super Genius that it come about, and it was like, okay, I want to help men, so men's pain to gain, MP2G. And it's just going to be conversations like this where, hopefully, doesn't matter who they are, whether it's just a dad that now has become a better dad because he's left going down the pub as a primary every single day after work, and maybe getting involved in a little bit of the old Colombian marching powder, right? Now going home first and seeing his wife and kids, and he's made that decision to better his life. Or on the other end, like the Rob Moores of the world, and the Liam Ryans of the world, and the Ryan Pennocks of the world, and the Paul Bradleys, the people that I've all worked with in some kind of level, whether it be on the outskirts and not so into it, but they've all been through something, and now they've learnt, they've coped, they've got through, and now they're sharing that with the world. And a lot of people might poo-poo it. You don't care, you just want to make money and teach people what you've learned and stuff like that. And it's like, nah, I genuinely get a feeling that these people actually care and they want to help people. So men's paints again, MP2G. It's coming. I haven't got a launch date yet.
That's known.
But it's definitely, I think after today, it's really given me the confidence actually. So I really appreciate this whole, episode 1 and episode 2 and what we've talked about. It's what I want to do, and I think if I can help people and help men specifically, then great. Doing something good in the world, right?
Good for you. Yeah.
Man, yeah. Thanks.
No, Alex, thank you so much for being here.
Cheers, dude.
Yeah, with the start of the episode, thank you for sharing and being honest with us. It is that vulnerability.
Yeah.
But it's the strength that comes with it as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for being so honest with us.
No, it's a pleasure, man.
I knew coming into it, your story would have such an impact on someone out there. And like we said, even if it's just one person. So thank you.
Yeah, I really hope so, yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming down and sharing this. Big
love, man.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Please, if you can, share your gratitude to Alex in our comments and let us know how amazing he's been. Stay tuned, take care of yourself, love you, and see you later.
Peace out, guys. Amazing.